Okay, we got it. So first of all, thank you very much for your patience with getting started. The live stream, we stubbed our toe a little bit on that one. We are sending messages to everybody that's on, and it'll get fixed as we start. But we got 70 people in the room, and so we've extended your patience longer than we should. Thank you for coming. It's great to have a turnout like this for a town hall. It's important to do one this time of year, given the fact that a fair number of people head off to all kinds of fun and adventure during the summers and then come back as we get to the fall. And we've enjoyed such an unbelievably nice spring, and things are going pretty well and certainly interesting in terms of the amount of activity that we have going on. And today we want to update you on 3 specific topics. First is the clubhouse. You'll see some new renderings that are here that we said we were going to show today. And rather than having me and Jen and Frank get up here and go through the clubhouse details of what we're doing, and I have to say thanks to Frank and Jen and all the others that have put in an enormous amount of time to get to the detailed levels that we're at. But frankly, we do all of that in lockstep with a management team who has basically owned with us every single decision along the way. And I think hearing directly from them and how they intend to take advantage of this club to serve you the best way they can is the best kind of update we could provide. And so Mario and Caitlin and John will do that update. Second is financials. It's always an important topic. It's important for us to understand the philosophies that were developed several years ago. And it's important to understand the applications of those philosophies as it pertains to how we spend your resources. And I think the Finance Committee has done a phenomenal job in doing that. But I think it's also really important to not only see their behind the curtain in terms of the thought process and what they're doing, but also the results of it as we compare ourselves with others that are like us. And I know this isn't about comparing to a neighbor, comparing to another club. It's not about an amenity, and there is no such thing as an apple to an apple to an apple when you're trying to do that. But it's still an important set of reference points. And I think Doug will help you see some of that as he does his presentation. And then finally, we published what we called Owner Principles here recently. And when we talked over the last year and a half, really, about culture, about rules and responsibilities, about our privileges that we all enjoy as owners, but also our responsibilities that we all enjoy as owners, I think the team has done a really good job of summarizing all that into something that's really simple and straightforward. And so really thrilled to have Peggy and Sandy present that information to you. Again, appreciate for your patience. We'll come back at the end with a wrap-up and any Q&A that's appropriate. And really enjoy having your feedback and an opportunity to have a dialogue in the community. So first up, Mario.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Steve, for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. All right. Well, it's good to have you all here today. It's a pleasure for me to share an update with the Clubhouse project and everything that's happening and taking place with that right now. So we're going to take a little stroll down memory lane to just recap how far we've come with this project. So this initial concept for the Clubhouse project started back in 2023. Right after I started, we started the preliminary work on this. A lot of folks were involved in that back then, board members, committee members, and we did a lot of work on the front end to lay the foundation for everything that we're going through today. And that was really commendable work that happened back then, and we appreciate everybody's input back then. The feedback that we got from members started to take us in a different direction. We had community engagement sessions back then, surveys, we did a town hall, those type of things, and it continued to shape the direction that we would go in. We engaged lots of professionals at that time. JC, our architect, and Janet Perry, who is with us from J Banks, was part of that team early on, and they are still with us today, getting us through this process. And this is all the people that are involved in the project right now. And I want to do a little special shout out to the project committee that we've got, starting with Steve and Doug and Frank and Jen. All of the hard work that's been done up to this point has been really fantastic. We've also got 2 subcommittees that we've added in, construction committee as well as the design committee. And we've got even subcommittees that have gone underneath them. The management team has been involved with this process throughout the entire time as well. The professional partners that we got in addition to KDC and Janet from J Banks is Matt Chavera with West Construction. And we also have Cliff, who's done a wonderful job as project manager, starting with the forensic engineer study that we did way back, leading us up to the bidding process for the 4 construction partners that we went through, the interview process, and ultimately settling on West, who we are really, really excited about having them as our construction partner for this project. So there were 3 overarching themes that have guided us through this from the very beginning. One, our beautiful clubhouse that we're in right now was overdue for an improvement and enhancement. It had been since 2012 and 13 since we initially did this, and it was time. We had it scheduled in our strategic plan, and so that was the underlying theme, that we needed to do some upgrades with that. Everything that we've always moved forward with has to do with providing a better member experience to all of you, and so that continues to be something that we're always focused on. And then, of course, paying attention to member needs, usage patterns, and continuous feedback from our members is what drives us forward. We're also using the team involved in that and how we can best execute what we're trying to achieve for you all. What we heard from you then and what we continue to hear now is what our priorities are in achieving this. What we are looking to do is maximize the use of the existing clubhouse, increase member usage of the club, improve dining opportunities, as well as improving events and increase in attendance. We have achieved all of this and then some. And the biggest indication of that is when you go back to the end of 2022, and you've heard us say this before, but we had just over 12,000 dinner covers in the end of 2022. And last year, at the end of 25, we ended with over 20,000 dinner covers alone. Pretty impressive. That's some significant growth there. The success that had for us did create some challenges. We had issues with capacity, service quality, room availability, storage, and the inability to serve dinner and large events simultaneously. But all of that further supported the need for this clubhouse project. And we needed to address other important items, such as ongoing maintenance of the clubhouse, making improvements to the infrastructure, things like HVAC, the AV, plumbing, etc. And expanding the kitchen and service areas became a huge priority for us. We needed to make sure that we were doing proper pre-planning on the front end. That's where that forensic engineer study came in, as well as the pre-construction work that we did with West early on. All of that in order to present a comprehensive package to you all on what the plans were. So as we continue to move forward, the Clubhouse project continued to gain clarity, primarily through your feedback. You asked for real outdoor dining options, more casual seating areas, a bigger bar, and the ability to serve multiple dining events, preserve an a la carte dining somewhere. If we had big events down here, we needed to be able to serve dinner upstairs, for instance, to have more dedicated space for small groups, keep quiet dining. That was a big one with Magnolia. And then preserve the JFB as a casual space and a bar for after sporting activities and things of that nature. And of course, keeping the low country theme and charm throughout the clubhouse. Unlike my kids, we listen to the feedback that you are providing for us. The Clubhouse project today answers all of those needs, and what has resulted is the majority of members support this project, and that support is continuing to grow. We feel it, we hear it. We have continued to make adjustments along the way. The messaging has been consistent and transparent, and kudos to the board for continuing to make that a priority for this membership. Members are engaged in multiple critical roles guiding this project. The best example of that is those ad hoc committees, and we have a artwork subcommittee under the design ad hoc committee that is under the project committee. So a lot of layers there, but it's really making sure that nothing goes without being checked and rechecked, and making sure that we've got everything covered during this process. We've engaged multiple professionals and contractors along the way, and we are on time and on budget. So we're very excited. That's not going to go yet, right? Hold on one second. But we're very excited with this project, and we're working on it every day. We're continuing to make adjustments accordingly, but all of this is to present and bring to you really an amazing clubhouse that we're all proud of. And I think that's going to be amazing once you see what else we've got planned today. And after we watch this awesome video that Lindsay and Vanessa put together for us, we're going to have Chef John and Caitlin come up and kind of walk through the rest of the details for this. So without further ado, enjoy this video.
The Clubhouse Enhancement Project is officially underway, with construction set to begin this July. For generations, the Clubhouse has been the heart of Long Cove Club, a place where friendships are formed, traditions are celebrated, and our community comes together. While honoring the history and memories that make this place so special, we are excited to take the next step forward, thoughtfully enhancing and modernizing the clubhouse to better serve the evolving needs of our growing community for years to come. The Clubhouse Enhancement Project will be completed in 2 phases. Phase 1 is scheduled to begin in July 2026 and continue through February 2027, focusing on the heart of the clubhouse experience. This phase will include enhancements to the front foyer, Long Cove Room, Magnolia Room, outdoor patio spaces, and the JFB. Phase 1 enhancements will begin in the front foyer, where office spaces will receive a refreshed and updated look. Upstairs, the JFB will be thoughtfully reimagined with renovated locker rooms and showers, expanded indoor dining capacity with an additional 12 to 15 seats, and updated decor throughout the space. Downstairs, the Magnolia Room will continue to offer a quiet, white tablecloth dining experience while adding a small service bar to improve owner service and convenience. The space will maintain direct access to outdoor dining and preserve its flexibility for cultural association gatherings, private events, and special occasions. The outdoor dining and rear patio experience will also be significantly enhanced, creating a more inviting and connected social atmosphere. Plans include seating for approximately 60 owners, a louvered pergola for added comfort, expanded patio areas for casual dining and lounging, and direct access from the Long Cove Room, living room, Magnolia Room, and grill room. Additional features such as a service bar access window, fire pits, and a new water feature will further elevate the ambience and overall member experience. Phase 2, currently anticipated to begin in March 2027, will focus on the transformation of the clubhouse's dining and culinary experience through a renovated and expanded kitchen, along with refreshed oak room and grill room spaces. Thank you for your continued support and enthusiasm throughout this important project. Together, we are shaping the future of Long Cove Club for generations to come.
Hope you all enjoyed that. It's very exciting, really exciting. So I'm going to introduce now our executive chef, John Suley, to come on up and give us some more details on this project. Thank you, Chef.
Okay. Thank you, Mario. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for the approval of the new kitchen. I can't tell you how excited my team and I are for that. These last couple of weeks have been extremely busy, and this upcoming week, I think I calculated that we'll be serving 3,000 meals out of the kitchen. I wish I'd taken another time-lapse video to show you other than that one, because we looked twice as busy. But no, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about each phase. The first phase, phase one, I don't really see any changes from our end. Our perspective, our whole setup will be exactly the same. Hours of operation, menus, I don't see any change during phase one. The only difference will be we'll be serving a la carte in the grill room and probably occasionally in the oak room as well. During phase two, that's where things are going to change a little bit. We're going to set up a satellite kitchen just outside behind the Pro Shop patio. That area is going to include like a tent area that we'll be able to offer buffets, outdoor grilling, outdoor cooking stations, all sorts of stuff. In addition to that, we're looking to purchase or possibly rent a food truck that we'll utilize out there. We've looked at a couple locally here that we other clubs have used during their renovation, and then we also are looking to get one possibly from the Ford Plantation. They have an excellent one called the Tin Lizzie that I think would be our best option. It's a much bigger truck, and we could do a lot more out of that. In addition to that area, we're going to possibly set up a satellite commissary area near the loading dock for storage, refrigeration, freezer, air-conditioned dry storage areas as well. The one good news we got out of this with the general contractor that we were waiting for, we were very excited to hear that we'll be able to utilize the basement area for storage. We have tons of stuff down there, from banquet equipment to cooler space to freezer space, wine storage, that by us being able to still utilize that area, it's going to be extremely beneficial to the club, both from a cost perspective and from a usage. So we're looking forward to that as well. That's really all I have. We're looking forward to it. Super excited. I wish we could wave a magic wand and then we'd be on to the new kitchen, but unfortunately we'll be cooking in a little area out there. So I'd like to introduce Caitlin at this point in time. Looking at.
Thank you, Chef, Mario, Steve. We know there's a lot to be excited about because for the last 20 minutes, the baby has been kicking nonstop. So you know that this is a good thing. There's a lot of excitement here. All right, so just revisiting some of our renderings, and these are available up here. I encourage you to come check them out, take some pictures. We will have them displayed throughout the clubhouse. But just revisiting a few of those details, these ones up here show a couple different angles of the oak room. One is if you were standing in the grill room kind of looking down to where we are here, and the other one almost as if we're standing here looking back outwards. So obviously a couple features of the crown jewel here is the 44 foot long bar with about 24 seats, capped off by that beautiful wine display that you'll see as soon as you're welcomed right into the space. As you know, we are bumping out this room, so we are capturing some really great prime dining spaces right here on this little patio area, which will now be inside. Moving on, we have another view of the Magnolia Room, which, as mentioned, will maintain a lot of its charm as a quiet, relaxed, elevated dining space, but with the addition of a service area, which will help our team significantly, and a service bar that will not only feed the Magnolia Room, the grill room for any sort of events, but also the back patio. And speaking of the back patio, we are really thrilled about what's coming together here. As mentioned, we've got this fantastic operable pergola, which is going to have incorporated lighting, heating, shades that'll come down to prevent bugs and sun from coming in, an additional 50 or 60 seats for dining, as well as some soft seating out there. And we're really hopeful that this space will become somewhere where golfers, tennis players, members will come and enjoy and be drawn to this space after a round of golf or a match on the courts there. So we think there's going to be a lot of new energy down here in these spaces that we are really, really looking forward to. So a couple of my priorities here, as Chef mentioned, maintaining operations and the member experience during the renovation. One of our biggest priorities is ensuring that Long Cove continues to feel like Long Cove during the construction. Dining service, as Chef mentioned, will remain available throughout the entire renovation process, with thoughtful planning around each phase to minimize disruption as much as we possibly can. We will continue to offer creative events, social programming, and other experience that will keep the club active, vibrant, and engaging. Our team is already exploring unique concepts, pop-ups, and themed experiences, as well as the flexible use of spaces to ensure that members still feel connected to the club during this time. While there are certainly going to be adjustments along the way, our commitment is that this remains an active, hospitality-driven clubhouse experience, so much more than simply a construction project. So next is preserving and supporting Long Cove's cultural activity. One thing we've heard very clearly is that Long Cove's culture and community activity cannot pause during this time, and we agree. We've been working closely with the Long Cove Cultural Association leadership to evaluate how groups and activities can continue through each phase of the project. We now have a strong operational plan and to support most of the activities that are central to our community experience that include yoga, bridge, mahjong, bunko, singers, actors, arts, and so many more. Some activities may temporarily pause or shift locations or shift formats during the construction, but the goal is continuity and maintaining the rhythm of engagement that you all value today. Post-renovation, this project also creates exciting opportunities for these groups to thrive within an updated, more functional space that is better designed to support this community connection. Lastly, strengthening service now to prepare for the future. The renovation itself will improve our physical spaces, but exceptional hospitality ultimately comes from people, systems, and culture. We are actively investing in service excellence today so that we are fully prepared to operate at a high level post-renovation. This includes enhanced training and development, upskilling our existing staff, strengthening leadership presence on the floor, improving operational systems and communication, as well as exploring technology that supports faster and more seamless service. At the same time, the renovation itself is being designed around operational efficiency, improved flow between the kitchen and dining areas, better service pathways, enhanced staging and support spaces, and layouts that will allow staff to deliver hospitality more effectively and consistently. Our goal is not simply to scale up our current operation, it's to build a stronger operational foundation that elevates the overall member experience for years to come. And in conclusion, for me, this project is about so much more than updating a building. It's about creating a clubhouse experience that better supports the hospitality, relationships, and community that already makes Long Cove so special. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Doug Wetmore.
You're a tough act to follow this.
Well, before I begin, I just want to say that I am not asking for any money today.
How did it?
That's coming later. So let me, first of all, I'm going to take the opportunity to provide you some information on a variety of subjects that impact our finances or reflect our finances. And in doing so, I'll review our financial philosophy, which was developed by the Finance Committee a couple of years ago and which remains appropriate presently. Secondly, I'll give an overview of home and lot sales. It's key to the long-term health of the community and the financial strength of our club. Next, I'll provide a comparison to other low-country clubs that we compete with most for our new owners. I may not have every club that you want to have comparison to, but these are the ones that Christy tells me are the ones that when people are looking to buy here, they are looking at these communities. Then I'll talk about the initiation fees, operating assessments, and finally, I'm going to provide a brief overview of a couple governance initiatives. No money involved, but governance initiatives that are also very important to the club. So with that, let me turn to our financial philosophy. I'm not going to read this to you, but the most important thing is it's based on best practice and it's grounded in prudent financial planning of your money, which is what this is all about. It's our collective money. One, we concluded a long time ago we want to operate, emphasis on operate, on a debt-free basis. We are not going to borrow to fund operations. It doesn't rule out borrowing, which we're going to do in the current environment as we commence the clubhouse renovation. As a sidebar to that, I'm happy to note that that the clubhouse process, as Mario alluded to, continues to proceed well. I'm confident that we're going to get all that we envisioned in terms of improvements at or below our approved budget and with the quality that we expect. It's a trifecta. You'll be getting an email tomorrow from Lindsay, I hope, that will detail requesting your choice in terms of whether you're going to pay up front or pay over time. And obviously that payment over time drives the borrowing. Secondly, operations, we just can affirm what we do annually. We divide the operating budget by 570 people, and we bill every owner their pro rata share. We want to regularly maintain determine capital spending necessary to properly maintain our club assets. And again, the emphasis is on required maintenance and properly maintaining. Those of you that have seen some of my discussions over the last 4 years know that this has been a sore point with me because we didn't do a very good job of it. Until 2024, we hadn't done a very good job of it, though, and we transitioned. And integral to having a good capital plan is developing that plan, which we have in place now and is being overseen by our long-range planning committee. And two, that current owners pay for current use, wear, and tear. We needed to establish a level of reserves for capital for emergencies. We currently have about $1 million in insurance deductibles that we would need to cover in the event of emergency like a hurricane. The committee determined also that 2 years of expected capital cash outlays is a baseline target, which we're in the process of building towards. And lastly, as a reminder, any use of our reserve capital funds, the Special Reserve Capital Fund, requires owner approval before we can use those funds. So we transitioned to that philosophy over the last few years. And this is a chart you've seen before, but I just want to remind you, 2024 and 2025, we increased our capital assessment, ultimately to $3,900. In 2026, we will begin using those capital dues only for maintenance. We did use initiation fees in 24 and 25 for part of our maintenance. And we will use a portion of the initiation fees to continue to build reserves. And we will continue to use a portion of those initiation fees to fund capital projects that are new and improved, such as the clubhouse renovation and the RFID gate project, both of which are coming up this year. In case you're wondering, at April 30th, 2026, the Special Capital Reserve Fund stood at just under $1.6 million. My one bearer of bad news, I will forewarn you that we have to evaluate the $3,900 later this year. Since we put that in place, inflation has increased by more than 7%. If you just work the math, that would translate to just under a $4,200 assessment. I'm not saying that's what the number is, but inflation has impacted our capital costs just as it has impacted our operating cost. Now, I mentioned initiation fees, obviously driven by home sales. So how have we done? Okay, so you can see year to date, we've had 21 home and lot sales, but mostly home sales so far. Obviously, I've used this slide a lot, but the peak years were the COVID years in terms of sales volume. The average during those years was double our average sales activity. And we've averaged from 2010 to 2025, 38 home and lot sales a year. If you recall, for the clubhouse renovation, we modeled 20 home sales a year, but that's conservative. And also we will be using some initiation fees for the RFID project. All of the home sales closed to date generated the $50,000 initiation fee. Any home under contract after April 15th of this year will be at $75,000. And I've said time and again over the years that
the volume of sales and the magnitude of initiation fees is really one of the most unpredictable things that we can have. If you look back to 2010 and 2011, 13 home sales, 18 home sales, at some point in time, we are going to experience another period where there's going to be a real slowdown in that. We just have to face that. Currently, we have 7 homes for sale and no lots for sale. In terms of the average selling price, I think we've enjoyed a pretty impressive increase over the last 10 years. The statistic is impacted in any year by the size and location of homes sold, but over a period of time, especially 10 years, the trend holds pretty true. Our average selling price has increased 119% for this 10-year period. Not as much as some other communities, but pretty good. As a point of reference, we had initiation fee increases from $20,000 to $35,000 in April of 2022. After we had a 19% selling price increase in 22 compared to 21, and an 18% increase in 23 compared to 22. Then in October of 2023, a lot of 20s here, we increased from 35 to 50,000. There was a slight decline in average selling price in 2024, as you can see, compared to 23, but I believe this is more reflective of the mix of houses sold rather than the impact of the higher initiation fee, and that certainly holds true for 2025, where the average selling price exceeded $1.5 million for the first time. In 2026, our initiation fee increased to $75,000, although that just took effect April 15th. Our average selling price has increased 6.1% so far this year, exceeding $1.6 million. So I know some people feel very strongly about this subject, but analysis supports that increased initiation fees have little or no effect on selling prices of houses. So now that I'm on the topic of initiation fees, let me give you a comparison to the other major communities with whom we most compete. As I've said before, I know some of you think comparison to Colleton, Berkeley, and Belfair are not meaningful because they're off-island and have 2 courses. But the comparisons do matter if potential buyers are comparing them to us. Regardless of your feelings with respect to those clubs off-island, we have Wexford, which is about as close of a comparison geographically and amenity-wise as we could get, and our initiation fee is $15,000 lower than theirs. While I didn't add to this chart, let me just highlight some other initiation fees around the region. Palmetto Bluff, it was $200,000. It just went to $300,000. Spring Island is $150,000. The Landings, $80,000. Kalawasi, $75,000. Hague Point, $75,000. Oldfield, $75,000. Hampton Hall, $60,000. I know the board would have liked to have seen the initiation fee be higher than the $75,000, but we collectively decided on an amount that we were reasonably assured would pass. And thank you for supporting that. So now let's look at operating and capital assessments. Annual assessment for 5 years again for the same clubs. We continue to have the lowest operating assessment amongst this selection of communities. Notably, we're $3,000 less than our neighbor next door. The operating assessment has increased 44% over the period presented. That's a lot. But major factors impacting the growth include inflation of 26%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The increase in the number of people living here, full-time or near full-time. You see that in the surge of food covers served, golf rounds played, etc. It's estimated that 65% of our community now lives here full-time compared to 45% 10 years ago, and that has a huge impact on our overall operating costs. We have the increased availability of the clubs, such as Wednesday dining, and we also face the reality of needing to remain competitive in the marketplace to attract talent. Turning to capital, Colleton is a big outlier there. I can't explain that one. Our annual capital assessment has increased 70% over this period, and for very well-documented reasons. We were using initiation fees every year to fund normal maintenance, when those funds should have been used to build reserves and fund new amenities. As I mentioned earlier, we've now transitioned away from this approach after using initiation fees for maintenance in 2024 and 2025. And secondly, for a long period of time, we weren't properly maintaining our assets or deferring maintenance until such time as deferral became a problem. I think you've probably heard me provide a number of examples of that over the past couple of years. So how do we look in total? I think we look pretty good. We're nearly 2,700 below the next lowest community. And I think with our initiation fee at its new level and with our annual cost of ownership very competitive with those communities with whom we most directly compete, we're in pretty good shape. Now let me turn it over to a couple of governance initiatives. There's two changes that we're going to propose. First is a covenant that requires us to obtain owner approval for any individual capital expenditure that exceeds $150,000. And the second relates to how the community has to deal with an operating budget that does not pass owner approval. First, let me discuss the $150,000. Article 8, I know you don't want me to read that. It was put in, the spending limit of $150,000 was put in place in 2003. Inflation from January 1, 2004 to March 31 is 73%. $150,000 would increase to $259,800, say $260,000, but I'm not proposing that. We're going to propose increasing the requirement for the referendum to $225,000. That's a 50% increase over the current limitation. We would also propose providing for automatic increases when cumulative inflation exceeds 5% from the date of the last adjustment. So we don't have to go through this brain damage every couple of years. I'll be off the board by the time we have to do that anyway. So, second one, the operating assessment. Why do we want to make this change? We tried once before, and it failed to reach the 75% threshold, which both of these governance initiatives require, by one vote. And I almost cried. The operating budget, it comes out, it'll be presented to the community at November 3rd. A referendum will come out later that week. The referendum has to stay out for a prescribed period of time, according to our covenants. And we find out the results sometime in early December. If that fails, we are really in a quandary because we have to have the operating assessment in place, according to our covenants, by January 1st. Other than that, we can bill, according to the covenants, 80% of last year's operating assessment. I got to be honest with you, we would be placed in a very precarious position if a budget referendum failed to pass. We've got member services, programs, golf course maintenance would be affected, and staff would likely have to be reduced. It could have serious long-term consequences for the health and the reputation of Long Grove. And I hesitate to go on without saying, on the subject of the budget, the Finance Committee and the board, along with management, expend a significant effort every year in preparing the budget. I think I've made it more onerous over the last couple of years while I've been treasurer. There may be cost increases that are beyond our control, such as insurance, inflation-related, and other external factors. But the board and the Finance Committee and management are committed to continued careful review and assessment of club spending, as well as what can be done to improve our efficiency. This process, the budget review process, begins in about 2 months from right now, several months before the related referendum is sent to our owners. So we're going to continue to strive for, and by the way, I neglected to mention it has no impact on the capital assessment. That's a separate vote. We will continue to strive towards a budget that meets the community's needs and goals, but we will propose the covenant change in the event that a majority of the community someday disagrees with us. So what we will allow 100% of the prior year budget to be billed if a proposed budget was not approved. So in the case of calendar 2026, if the budget had not been approved, we would have been able to bill 100% of the 2025 budget. Zero increase for that period of time. And the second thing we're looking for is provide for a revised deadline of March 1st for approval. And then if there is any increase in the operating assessment in a year, it would be included in the second assessment that is billed in June. I think these are two really common sense proposals to the governance, and hopefully you will consider them and support them. Both of those referendums will be coming out shortly, probably before the end of May, if not the first week of June. And I would appreciate your support in getting them passed. So I told you I wasn't going to ask for any money. With that, I will click about 10 times, and I'll turn it over to Sandy and Peggy. So thank you.
Yes.
Good afternoon. So great job, Doug. Thank you. We know we're the only thing between you and happy hour and dinner, so we'll try to be concise and brief. Let me start by saying this. So Doug touched on this, but preserving Long Cove as we grow and evolve is not only a financial goal, it's also about how we as owners shape the culture and the spirit of our community. Steve's recent From the Board communication highlighted our newly adopted owner principles, and today Peggy Nowak, one of our amazing Spirit team members and now a member of the Membership and Marketing Committee, and I are here to share the work that's been done over the last year and a half. To set the stage, let me just say these things. We have welcomed a wonderful influx of new owners, younger families, kids, a lot of energy. And alongside that growth, we've also seen the need to reinforce respect and civility. Those are things that help all communities grow and thrive. We have experienced more instances of owners not following basic rules, things like unsafe walking and biking, speeding, unleashed dogs, and at times some very aggressive and abusive language and interactions between owners and our staff. So with all this in mind, the board began to ask a simple but important question. The question is, how do we preserve the special spirit of our community as we evolve and change? And as we explored this, we learned that we're not the only community that has some opportunities in terms of setting expectations and sustaining a positive and respectful culture. So what do we mean by culture? Community culture is basically something that evolves, and it is based on standards and behaviors that emerge in a place. It could be a town, a city, a club, a church, and these are just basic, understood ways of operating and behaving. To stay a highly desired private community, the board engaged a small group of owners to evaluate our current culture and to make some recommendations. So formed in early 2024, this group, originally the Culture Committee, quickly renamed themselves as the Spirit Team, which turned out to be a perfect beginning. And I'd like to introduce and ask you to thank these folks that served: Mario, Walt Cutshall, Mickey Graham, Ed Hutton, Mark Leventhal, Peggy Nowak, and Steve and me, and I think only a few are here. I know a lot of people are gone. But they worked enormously hard, and Steve and I served on this particular team really as liaisons and support people, but it's the owners that led this actual work. The team created 5 initial objectives that I'll just quickly touch on. To define and introduce community culture to owners and prospective buyers, increase the awareness of how owner behaviors shape the owner and team member experiences, embed those values into owner expectations and the overall Long Cove experience, make sure that we're aligned with the mission, vision, and strategic plan, and use a survey to establish a baseline, which we have done. The Spirit team worked really hard. Most ad hoc committees don't last as long as this one has. They had 17 meetings of gathering together and working on all of this. We conducted the first community-wide culture survey, held a partnership meeting with about 80 participants for insights, ideas, and suggestions, and completed 6 community engagement sessions doing deep dives following that partnership meeting. So many, many, many great ideas came from this, and it's now my pleasure to invite Peggy Nowak, an integral part of this team, to come and share what we learned.
Well, thank you, Sandy. You just stay here and click for me, right? I'm going to be your clicker. Super. First of all, I want to say thank you. Most of all, I was very proud to accept the invitation to serve on this team. And there were a lot of committed owners that I was sharing that experience with. There was a task put before us, and we all believed in the fact that as we went forward, it was going to benefit greatly the owners and the staff. And so when we did all of these surveys and the meetings and the community engagement conversations, the same themes kept coming up, just as you see here: pride, accountability, community, welcoming and engaging, beautiful, peaceful, a lot of fun. So these were not new ideas. That was the good news. These values were already alive in our community and culture, evidenced by the many neighborly acts of kindness and sharing ideas and skills through activities and committees. And I might add that this community is full of interesting and dynamic people who have a ton of skills that impact all of our experiences every day. So our team was set out to create a framework and to create some memorable statements that would resonate with the owners. Not rules, not mandates, but shared expectations that reflect how we show up for each other. I want to say that again. It is not rules, it's not a mandate, but it is shared expectations that reflect how we show up for other people and for our community. And so we came up with principles. The very first one is pride of ownership. We take pride in our community, not just in our homes and amenities, but in the way we represent Long Cove. Pride shows up the small things: a wave to our neighbors, mailbox conversations, volunteering with our skills, supporting fun days, and volunteering for the Darius Rucker Invitational, a thoughtful suggestion here and there. It's the quiet confidence that says, this is our home and we care about it. The second one, of course, turned to the environment. We are blessed with one of the most beautiful, beautiful natural settings on Hilton Head Island. And with that gift comes responsibility. Stewardship means preserving our waterways, our wildlife, and our green spaces. It means making choices, big and small, that preserve the low-country character we all cherish. And with that, at Long Cove, we have accountability. We hold ourselves to a high standard. We treat one another with honesty, integrity, and respect. We communicate openly, we listen generously, and the accountability isn't about blame, it's about ownership of our actions, our words, and the impact we have on our community and others. And our community, C is for community. This is the heart of Long Cove. We're a neighborhood that values connection, kindness, and inclusion. We welcome new owners with open arms, and we enjoy and we share the broader Hilton Head Island community. And we show up for one another, not just in celebration, but in challenges that we all receive. The last principle is engaged. Long Cove is a place where people come to learn, explore, stretch, and make new friends. Whether it's golf or tennis or boating or art or committees and volunteering our skills or simply meeting someone new, we believe in staying curious. Growth keeps us vibrant. It keeps us connected, and it keeps our community moving forward. These principles reflect the best in us. They guide how we show up for one another and how we steward the land, and how we ensure Long Cove remains a place of belonging for generations to come. And of course, as you can tell, the first letter of each of these principles spells peace. Peace in how we live, peace in how we treat one another, and peace in how we care for the land and this community we love. And there's more. All during this year and a half and all the meetings that we had, we also heard about and talked about other initiatives that could enhance these principles so that they became more of a living principle instead of just words on a page. And so we did find that many new initiatives and new processes were coming into place. And the big one was last year we established 9 coves. They were smaller. They broke up the greater community into 9 different coves. And over the past year, many of the 18 co-captains have played host to smaller casual gatherings, which have been responded to enormously positive. In fact, I heard one gentleman the other day say, "I've been here for 30 years, and this is the best thing I've ever been to." So that was huge. Another thing that we supported was the increased transparency and accessibility to the board. Steve, with his posting after the board meeting, lets everybody know what kinds of issues the board has addressed and the kind of comments that come from the owners and the issues that they're facing all the time. Every month, Mornings with Mario is still happening, and everybody is involved. Everybody is invited, and there are lots of conversations. Any topic can be brought up and discussed. So they have also improved a more open process for joining committees every year. That's a good one. And as a team, we supported the dealing with any violations of the rules and regulations with consequences as appropriate. Thanks to Lindsay, our new member website is up and running, and she's improving it all the time as we go forward. And I want everybody to look forward to an exciting happening the first part of October. I just want to say that I appreciate the opportunity to work on this team. It's been exciting. It's been validating for many, many reasons. And now Sandy's going to explain going forward and how these principles can build as a foundation, and it will help us going toward the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job, Peggy. Thank you so much. So let me find where I am on my own script. Why this matters. And we're close to the end. These principles give us a shared compass. They help us have new members understand who we are, and for us to understand and remember our responsibilities to protect the culture and the spirit that we cherish. So welcoming new owners, clarifying community expectations, guiding decisions and behaviors, celebrating when the principles are lived well, and addressing moments when they are not, and preserving what makes Long Cove so special. So what's next? You'll see these integrated into lots of different manners, orientation, communications, events, and so forth. It's really about living our principles and not just naming them, or as Peggy said, on a piece of paper. So to sum this up, what is our why? Our why, we have principles. A great community doesn't just happen by accident. A strong community occurs because it's created purposefully. Through our daily interactions and activities, we care for this place we collectively call home. How do we do this? We do this through simple, consistent behaviors. We bring this to life by showing respect, responsibility, environmental care, welcoming others, and staying open to growth, and just living the principles. These were developed, so our what is, we wanted to have a guide for how we show up as owners. And these were developed by our owners, endorsed by our committees and our board, and they give us a shared standard. To be effective, these principles must be, again, more than what are words on a page. This needs to be together how we shape our community, and that is defined by how we live, not just where we live. I want to thank the owners who worked so thoughtfully and diligently to create these. I'm going to ask that you all embrace and commit to these principles, and I'd like to close with words from Mario. And I just love this quote. Enjoy the club and all we have to offer in every way possible, but don't let your enjoyment of the club negatively impact the enjoyment or experience of another member. So a housekeeping tip before I turn this to Steve. We do have the Cove maps available in the back, and Christy will distribute those if you'd like one. And Vanessa is here to take pictures of folks if they do not have their photo on our directory. So thanks so much for your attention. Let me turn this to Steve.
So 3 very, very important topics, wonderfully presented. And thank you for doing that, all 3 of you, all 4 of you. Peggy, awesome. You know, a lot of people have had some feedback relative to why do we need to talk about culture? Why do we need to do this? Why do we need to do that? And I would just tell you that your management team and sometimes the board winds up dealing with some of the issues that, frankly, this community should reject. And I would say it would be great if when you see somebody that you know kind of playing on the edge of the rules or saying something that he shouldn't say to another member or to a staff member, you know, don't wait for Mario to have to run an investigation and call him into his office and have a conversation. Pull him aside and say, hey, we don't do that at Long Cove. That's just not who we are. And let it go. I think it's a perfectly good way to handle a situation like that. So I applaud the fact that there's a set of principles that kind of guide that thinking, and I appreciate the work that's been done on all of that. My comment on the financial piece, simple. This club is in enormously better financial shape today than it was 4 years ago. And it's really a credit to good thinking, strategic planning, disciplined management, and a credit to all of you who have supported those changes. And so I would just tell you that be proud of yourselves because you're a part of the equation that makes all of that possible. And relative to the clubhouse, I can't wait. July can't get here soon enough for me. I know that there's still risks. There's always risks with stuff. There will be surprises. We don't obviously know what they're going to be, but we are very well positioned to absorb the surprises. We're very well positioned to be on schedule, and we have a world-class team of partners that are standing at our sides doing this work. And you know, I couldn't be prouder of the work that the team is doing, and I want to say thank you again to the fact that the detailed planning that has gone into this has required hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of volunteers who are willing to do it because they love this club. And then a summary on that point, it sort of jumped out to me as I was listening to the principal's presentation again. We are so unbelievably blessed to live in a wonderful community that 99% of the time is a total joy for each and every one of us. And not a lot of communities can say that. And when you see things, you know, I'm looking at Bridget here, you know, we talk about protecting the environment. We talk about making sure that this environment maintains its natural beauty. And so all of the things that are important. Our ARB is charged with protecting all of that. They're charged with helping us make the decisions that are in the best interest of the community and ultimately for your own home values. Yet you can't imagine the abuse they get every time somebody wants to do a project. You can't imagine. And so back off. Take a minute to reflect on if it was you that was charged with maintaining the natural beauty of our environment and the value of our properties and our homes. How would you like to be treated? Because it could be one of you. every single one of the people you're yelling at are volunteers. And so, let's just keep it in mind, because there's a lot of examples of that I think we could all sort of appreciate and do better. With that said, something I'd like to, introduce here with a video. Allie went around and started asking some questions, as a good news reporter does. And so let me kick that off. Here she goes. Allie? Whoop. Well, there went Allie. I'm going back.
Do you know what's happening October 1st?
No.
Joe, do you know what's happening here on October 1st? No. Do you know what's happening here October 1st? No.
Yes, I do know what's going on October 1st. I hear there's a concert or something.
Yeah, and it's with who?
These guys?
Oh, come on, you know who they are.
These guys?
And you're going to be there, right?
Of course I will be there. Can't wait.
So, I'm trying to figure out the right words to put the context around this. Have you ever been to an auction and you got caught up in the bidding process for something, and when you got caught up in the bidding process and you win, you finally realize it was just an overly competitive moment? And ultimately what happens is you have a prize that you have to figure out what you're going to do with it. Becky and I got caught up in such a moment, and we bought these guys for a night. And they are going to come to the club on October 1st. And we thought the best thing we could possibly do with that is share it as a gift to the community, so that not from me and Becky, but from the management team and from the board, we can show our appreciation for members. And the reality is that appreciation will be free. You can come, bring your own booze, bring your own food. It's all going to be out on the driving range. You'll have the ability to set up your lawn chairs in your tent. But the only way you get preferential seating is if you come to the meeting that precedes these guys. And that is an opportunity to really explore Long Cove. One of the things that's important here, as I mentioned before, is we have a lot of privileges here, and we also have some responsibilities. And we don't, as we've had 50 to 60% turnover over the last 5 or 6 years, we probably need to spend a little bit more time educating ourselves on both. And so we're going to try to do that in a really fun, game show-oriented kind of way. And I think you'll enjoy it. We'll only be able to fit about 150 people in here because the other half of the clubhouse will be closed at that moment. But if we get 150 people in here and they all get preferred seating, we'll tell the other 300 people that watch these guys all about it. And I think it'll be a great evening, and it'll be a chance for all of us to appreciate one another and the joy of being here at Long Cove, especially those that we're welcoming back from their summers. So with that said, that's our agenda. I'm happy to open all of this up for Q&A, but before I do, I must apologize to all of the people watching on live stream. I think we have about 75 people still on. They didn't get to see the Clubhouse presentation because it took us a while to get that working, but it'll all be available by video. And again, apologies to everybody that was impacted by that. So with that, let's go to Q&A. If you have a question, please come up to the microphone or send it in online, and we'll direct the answers to appropriate people around the room.
Please.
That's a first. Okay, there's two firsts here. No cell phones went off, and no questions. Good. Thank you guys very much. Thank you.
That question, my cousin, you were, you know, bad saber. You just